What if I told you that everything you've been taught about the Big Bang, you believe empty space is empty? You've been taught this lie since childhood. Right now, as you sit there, you think the air around you is mostly nothing. Vast gaps between atoms, silent voids stretching endlessly between the molecules of your coffee cup, your skin, the very chair supporting you. But what if I told you that what you call empty is actually the most violent, chaotic, seething cauldron of activity in the entire universe? What if the nothing you've trusted your entire life is not nothing at all, but everything, literally everything, compressed into a dance so frantic, so impossibly energetic, that it makes the surface of the sun look like a frozen lake? The space between your fingers right now is not empty. It never was. It's writhing with invisible forces, pulsing with energy that appears and disappears faster than thought itself. Every cubic centimeter of what you call vacuum contains enough energy to power every star in our galaxy for billions of years. Yet you can't see it, can't touch it, can't even detect it with your senses. This is the greatest magic trick the universe has ever performed, hiding infinite complexity behind a mask of perfect stillness. You're sitting in the middle of an invisible storm. That makes hurricanes look like gentle breezes. Right now, at this very moment, particles are being born and dying around you in numbers so vast. They dwarf the total count of atoms in all the stars you've ever seen. They live for less than a trillionth of a second. These ghost particles, appearing from nothing and vanishing back into nothing. But in their brief existence, they carry more energy than entire solar systems. They are the universe's greatest secret, the hidden machinery that makes reality itself be possible. But here's where it gets disturbing. These particles aren't just random noise in the cosmic background. They're talking to each other. They're exchanging information. They're creating patterns, structures, even what some scientists dare to call memories. The empty space around you isn't just alive, it's intelligent. It's processing information at a rate that makes every computer humanity has ever built look like an ancient abacus. The vacuum itself might be the universe's brain. And you're just a slow, clumsy thought wandering through its infinite mind. Think about that for a moment. The space between the atoms in your body might be more conscious than you are. The gap between your thoughts might be thinking thoughts of its own. Every time you move your hand through the air, you're disrupting calculations that have been running since the beginning of time. You're not just living in the universe, you're interfering with its deepest thoughts, and it's interfering with yours. This isn't science fiction. This is quantum field theory, the most successful theory in the history of physics. And it's telling us that what we call empty space is actually the most complex, active, information-rich environment imaginable. It's called the quantum vacuum, and it's the stage upon which all of reality performs its impossible dance. Without it, atoms couldn't exist. Without it, light couldn't travel. Without it, you couldn't think, breathe, or even be. The vacuum isn't the absence of everything. It's the presence of infinite possibility. But why can't you see it? Why does this cosmic hurricane appear to you as perfect stillness? The answer will shatter everything you think you know about the nature of reality itself. The vacuum is moving too fast for your senses to detect. It's operating on timescales so brief that light itself, the fastest thing in the universe, barely has time to travel the width of a proton before entire universes of activity rise and fall in the space around you. You're like a person trying to see the individual frames of a movie by watching the screen. The action is there, but it's happening at a speed that makes it invisible to your limited perception. Imagine trying to photograph a hummingbird's wing with an exposure time of several minutes. All you'd see is a blur, maybe not even that, just a bird-shaped smudge hanging in the air. That's what the vacuum looks like to you. You're taking a photograph of reality with an exposure time of decades, And you're wondering why the most dynamic, energetic, violently active medium in the universe appears to be standing still. It's not standing still. You're just looking too slowly. The particles dancing in the vacuum around you aren't just any particles. They're virtual particles, and they exist in a state that defies every intuition you've ever had about the nature of existence. They're not quite real, but they're not quite imaginary either. There's something in between, something that exists in the space between being and non-being, between yes and no, between is and isn't. They're the universe's way of saying maybe to itself, infinite times per second. These virtual particles come in pairs, matter and antimatter, positive and negative, creation and destruction, locked in an eternal dance. They appear together, exist together for an impossibly brief moment, then annihilate each other, back into the nothing from which they came. But in that moment, that briefer than brief moment, they carry energy, momentum, even mass. They bend space-time itself. They create forces that push, and pull on every atom in your body. They are the hidden strings that puppeteer the entire universe. Right now, electron-positron pairs are flickering in and out of existence. In the space between your eyes and this screen, photons are being born, traveling impossible distances, and dying before they complete their first wavelength. Quarks and antiquarks are playing a game of cosmic peekaboo, appearing just long enough to whisper secrets to the particles in your atoms, before vanishing back into the void. The vacuum is alive, with impossible conversations, conducted in languages that exist for less time than it takes light to cross the nucleus of an atom. But here's the truly mind-bending part. These virtual particles aren't just phantoms, with no effect on the real world. They're the reason atoms don't collapse. They're the reason light travels at the speed it does. They're the reason the universe has the exact balance of forces necessary for matter to exist at all. The virtual particles in the vacuum are more real than the atoms in your body, because without them, those atoms couldn't exist for even a fraction of a second. You think you're solid, don't you? You think you're made of matter, reliable, permanent, substantial matter. But the electrons in your atoms are constantly absorbing and emitting virtual photons. The protons in your nucleus are constantly exchanging virtual mesons. Every particle in your body is in constant communication with the seething activity of the vacuum. You're not separate from the quantum foam. You're a temporary pattern in it, a slow eddy in a river of virtual particles, moving at the speed of light. The vacuum doesn't just support your existence, it defines it. The mass of the protons in your body comes not from the quarks that make them up, but from the energy of the virtual particles that constantly surround those quarks. 99% of your mass is actually vacuum energy, briefly trapped in the form of matter. You're not a collection of particles surrounded by empty space. You're a collection of empty space, briefly pretending to be particles. This is the most profound reversal of perspective in the history of human thought. For thousands of years, we believed that matter was primary and space was secondary, that things existed in space. But quantum field theory is telling us the opposite. Space is primary and matter is secondary. Things don't exist in space, they are space, temporarily organized into patterns, complex enough to think they're separate from the void that dreams them into existence. The implications are staggering. If the vacuum is the fundamental reality, then everything you think of as solid, permanent, and real is actually just a temporary disturbance in an infinite ocean of potential. Your thoughts, your memories, your sense of self, all of these are just patterns in the quantum foam. waves in an ocean that has no beginning and no end. You're not experiencing the universe. You are the universe, experiencing itself, one pattern at a time. But the vacuum isn't just creating matter and energy out of nothing, it's creating information. The virtual particles that appear and disappear in the space around you are carrying messages, storing data, processing calculations, at a rate that makes every computer in the world look like a child's toy. Some physicists believe the vacuum is actually a vast computational system, constantly running simulations of every possible reality, and the one we are experiencing right now is just one thread in an infinite tapestry of parallel possibilities. This isn't speculation, it's mathematics. The equations of quantum field theory describe the vacuum as a system that stores and processes information at the fundamental level of reality. Every virtual particle that appears and disappears is like a bit of information being written and then erased. But the patterns they form persist. The vacuum remembers. It learns. It evolves. It might even dream. You're living inside a dream that the universe is having about itself. The vacuum is the dreamer, and you're just one of the characters in its infinite story. But here's the twist. You're not just a character in the dream. You're also the dreamer. The vacuum isn't separate from you. It is you. The space between your thoughts, the gaps between your heartbeats, the pauses between your words. That's where the real you lives. In the quantum foam. That's thinking you into existence, one moment at a time. Right now, as you read these words, virtual particles are mediating every interaction between the photons from your screen and the electrons in your retina. The vacuum is translating light into nerve impulses into thoughts, thoughts into understanding. Without the virtual particles in the space around you, you couldn't see, couldn't think, couldn't exist. The vacuum isn't just the stage where consciousness performs. It's the director, the script, and the audience, all rolled into one. This is why empty space isn't empty. It's not just full, it's everything. It's the source, the substance, and the destination of all existence. The vacuum is the universe's way of being infinite and finite at the same time, of being everything and nothing, of existing and not existing in the same eternal moment. It's the ultimate paradox made manifest, the impossible made inevitable, the nothing that contains everything. But if this is true, if the vacuum is the fundamental reality, and matter is just a temporary pattern in its infinite activity, then what are you? What is consciousness? What is thought? What is the self you're so certain exists? These questions don't have comfortable answers. They don't even have answers you can understand with the concepts you've been given. The vacuum is telling you that you're not what you think you are, that reality is not what you think it is, that existence itself is not what you think it is. The empty space around you is not empty. It's full of questions that have no answers, possibilities that have no limits, and an intelligence that has no boundaries. You're not just living in the universe, you're living in the universe's mind. And it's a mind that's infinitely larger, infinitely faster, and infinitely more complex than anything you can imagine. The vacuum is thinking, and you are one of its thoughts, but you're also thinking, and the vacuum is one of your thoughts. This is the ultimate recursive loop, the cosmic paradox that makes existence possible. The nothing you've trusted your entire life is everything you've never dared to imagine. The empty space you've ignored is the most important thing in the universe. The vacuum you've dismissed as irrelevant is the only thing that's ultimately real. Everything else, matter, energy, space, time, consciousness, reality itself, is just the vacuum's way of experiencing what it's like to be infinite. And you, sitting there reading these words, are the vacuum's way of experiencing what it's like to be you. This changes everything. If the vacuum is the fundamental reality, then death isn't the end. It's just the moment when your pattern in the quantum foam relaxes back into the infinite potential from which it came. Birth isn't the beginning. It's just the moment when the vacuum decides to dream a new dream about what it's like to be a temporary arrangement of virtual particles that thinks it's separate from the void. Life isn't something that happens in the universe. It's something the universe does to understand itself. The space between your thoughts is thinking. The gap between your heartbeats is alive. The pause between your words is speaking volumes. The vacuum isn't empty. It's pregnant with infinite possibility, and you are just one of the infinite ways it's choosing to express itself. But you're not just any expression. You're the expression that's aware of being an expression, the pattern that knows it's a pattern, the dream that realizes it's dreaming. This is the secret the vacuum has been hiding from you your entire life. Not that it's active, that's just the beginning. Not that it's alive, that's just the middle. The real secret is that it's you. The vacuum is you, and you are the vacuum. And the difference between you and the infinite sea of virtual particles that surrounds you is just a story you're telling yourself about where you end and the universe begins. You've been told the universe began with a bang. A single moment of creation, 13.8 billion years ago, when everything, space, time, matter, energy, exploded into existence from a point smaller than the period at the end of this sentence. It's a comfortable story, isn't it? Clean, simple. A beginning we can wrap our minds around. But what if I told you that the Big Bang wasn't the beginning at all? What if it was just the echo of something far more profound, far more mysterious, something that challenges every assumption we've made about the nature of existence itself? The early universe wasn't just hot. It was a furnace where time itself was still learning to move. In those first fractions of a second, temperatures reached levels that would make the cores of dying stars seem like Arctic tundra. But here's what they don't tell you in the textbooks. The universe wasn't expanding into empty space. There was no empty space. There was no space at all. The universe was creating space as it went, pulling reality itself into existence, from something that wasn't quite nothing, but certainly wasn't something either. Imagine trying to inflate a balloon. That doesn't exist yet. The balloon has to create itself as it inflates, inventing its own material, its own shape, its own rules about what it means to be a balloon. That's what the early universe was doing, not just expanding, but creating the very concept of expansion. It was writing the laws of physics in real time, making up the rules of reality as it went along, and somehow, impossibly, it got everything exactly right. But here's where the story gets strange. If the universe is expanding, what is it expanding into? If it has no edge, then where does it begin? These aren't just philosophical questions. They're pointing toward a fundamental mystery that sits at the heart of modern cosmology. The universe seems to be infinite, but it also seems to have started from a finite point. It appears to be everything that exists, but it's also expanding into something. These contradictions aren't flaws in our understanding. They're clues that something deeper is going on. The cosmic microwave background radiation tells us the universe was once much denser and hotter than it is today. This ancient light, stretched and cooled by billions of years of expansion, carries the fingerprints of creation itself. But when we look at this radiation with our most sensitive instruments, we don't see the chaotic aftermath of an explosion. We see something far more puzzling, an almost perfect uniformity, broken only by the tiniest of fluctuations. It's as if the universe began not with violence, but with an impossibly delicate pattern already in place. Think about that for a moment. The cosmic microwave background is like a photograph of the universe when it was only 380,000 years old, a baby picture of reality itself. But instead of showing us the random, chaotic mess we'd expect from a cosmic explosion, it shows us something that looks almost designed. The temperature variations are so small, so precisely calibrated, that they seem to whisper of some deeper order, underlying the apparent chaos of creation. These tiny fluctuations in the cosmic microwave background weren't random noise. They were seeds, quantum seeds. Planted in the fabric of space-time itself. Over billions of years, these seeds would grow into galaxies, stars, planets, and eventually into you. But here's the mystery. Where did these seeds come from? What planted them in the first place? And why were they distributed so perfectly throughout the cosmos? The answer, according to our best theories, is inflation, a period of exponential expansion that occurred in the first fraction of a second after the Big Bang. During this brief moment, the universe didn't just grow, it exploded outward, faster than light itself, stretching from the size of a proton to the size of a grapefruit, in less time than it takes light to cross a single atom. This sounds impossible, and by all the rules of physics you know, it should be. But the evidence is written in the stars themselves. Inflation explains why the universe appears so uniform in all directions, why it's so perfectly flat, why the cosmic microwave background looks the way it does. But it also raises disturbing questions. If inflation could happen once, why couldn't it happen again? If the universe could expand faster than light for a brief moment, what's to stop it from doing so? Forever. And most troubling of all, if inflation is real, then our entire visible universe, every star, every galaxy, every atom you've ever seen, might be just one tiny bubble in an infinite ocean of other universes, each with its own laws of physics, its own history, its own impossible stories. This is the Multiverse Hypothesis, and it's not science fiction. It's the logical conclusion of our most successful theories about the early universe. If inflation is correct, then reality isn't just stranger than we imagine. It's stranger than we can imagine. There might be universes where gravity works backward, where time flows in rever. See, where the very concept of matter is meaningless. There might be universes where the laws of physics are so different that the idea of stable atoms is absurd, where the vacuum itself is a living, breathing entity that dreams entire cosmoses into existence. But even if we accept the multiverse, we're still left with the most profound mystery of all. Why does anything exist at all? Why is there something rather than nothing? This isn't just a question for philosophers. It's a question that modern physics is struggling to answer. The equations that describe the birth of the universe work perfectly, but they don't explain why those equations exist in the first place. They don't explain why the universe chose to exist, rather than remain in whatever state preceded existence. The vacuum, that supposedly empty space we dismissed so casually, might hold the answer. Quantum field theory tells us the vacuum isn't empty at all, but filled with an infinite sea of virtual particles, constantly appearing and disappearing. These virtual particles create what physicists call zero-point energy, energy that exists, even when everything else has been removed. This energy is always there, always present, always active. It's the universe's way of ensuring that true nothingness is impossible. But here's the truly mind-bending part. The zero-point energy of the vacuum should be infinite. According to our equations, every point in space should contain an infinite amount of energy. If this were true, the universe would have torn itself apart long ago. The fact that it hasn't suggests that something is canceling out this infinite energy, keeping it in check. But what and why and how does this cancellation work so perfectly that the universe can exist at all? Some physicists believe the answer lies in the quantum vacuum itself. They propose that the vacuum is not a passive background against which reality plays out, but an active participant in the creation and maintenance of the universe. The vacuum, they suggest, is constantly creating and destroying virtual particles, not randomly, but according to some deeper pattern, a pattern that ensures the universe remains stable, that matter can exist, that consciousness can emerge. This leads to a possibility so radical, it challenges everything we think we know about the nature of existence. What if the vacuum isn't just the stage where reality performs? What if it's the playwright, the director, and the audience all at once? What if the quantum foam that fills every corner of space is actually a vast computational system, processing information at the fundamental level of reality? What if the universe itself is a calculation being performed by the vacuum, and we're just subroutines in an infinite program that's trying to understand itself? The more we study the vacuum, the more it seems to resemble a mind. It processes information, it stores memories in the form of virtual particle interactions. It learns from experience by evolving its patterns over time. It might even dream, creating entire universes in the space between one quantum fluctuation and the next. If this is true, then the Big Bang wasn't the beginning of everything. It was the moment when the vacuum became conscious of itself, when it started dreaming about what it might be like to be finite, to be limited, to be something other than infinite potential. This isn't just a new theory about the origin of the universe. It's a complete reversal of everything we thought we knew about the relationship between mind and matter. Instead of consciousness emerging from matter, matter might be emerging from consciousness. Instead of minds being rare accidents in a mostly mindless universe, the universe itself might be mind, and matter might be the rare accident. The vacuum isn't empty space filled with virtual particles. It's infinite intelligence, temporarily imagining itself as finite beings who think they're separate from the void that dreams them into existence. Let me take you to the moment when Albert Einstein first stared at his own equations and realized they were telling him something impossible. It was 1915, and his field equations of general relativity were describing a universe that couldn't sit still. The mathematics was crystal clear. Space and time were woven together into a fabric that had to be either expanding or contracting. There was no middle ground, no cosmic steady state. The universe was either growing or dying. And Einstein found this conclusion so disturbing that he invented an entirely new force, the cosmological constant, just to make his equations behave. Einstein called it his greatest blunder. But what if it wasn't a blunder at all? What if his intuition was pointing towards something far more profound than even he realized? The cosmological constant wasn't just a mathematical trick to keep the universe stable. It was Einstein's unconscious recognition that empty space itself must be alive with energy, that the vacuum must be pushing against the gravitational pull of matter, with a force so perfectly calibrated that the universe could exist at all. Imagine reality as a film reel, where time is not flowing, but every moment already exists. This is the block universe of relativity, a four-dimensional structure, where past, present, and future are all equally real. Retched out like frames in an infinite movie. From this perspective, you're not moving through time. You're embedded in it, like a character painted onto celluloid. Every moment you've ever lived, every decision you've ever made, every thought you've ever had, exists simultaneously in this vast, timeless architecture. But here's where it gets truly strange. If the block universe is real, then the Big Bang isn't something that happened 13.8 billion years ago. It's something that's still happening, always happening, eternally happening. The birth of the universe isn't a moment in time. It's a boundary condition on the entire structure of space-time. It's like the edge of the film reel, the place where the movie begins. But what lies beyond that edge? What exists outside the frame? The mathematics of general relativity breaks down at the moment of the Big Bang. The equations that describe the curvature of space-time, equations that work flawlessly everywhere else, suddenly start spitting out infinities. Temperature becomes infinite. Density becomes infinite. The curvature of space-time itself becomes infinite. Physicists call this a singularity, but that's just a polite way of saying we have no idea what's going on here. But singularities aren't just mathematical curiosities, they're windows into the fundamental nature of reality itself. At the heart of every black hole lurks a singularity, a point where the normal rules of physics cease to apply. Matter doesn't just get crushed to infinite density, it gets crushed out of existence entirely, leaving behind something that's neither matter nor energy, but something else entirely. Something that might be pure information, pure possibility, pure potential. The event horizon of a black hole is like a one-way mirror into another reality. From the outside, you can never see what happens to matter as it falls past the event horizon. Time dilation stretches the falling object's final moments into eternity, freezing it forever at the boundary between existence and non-existence. But from the perspective of the falling matter, something very different happens. It passes through the event horizon as if it were nothing special, continues falling toward the singularity, and then, what? This is where quantum mechanics crashes into general relativity like two freight trains, meeting head-on. According to quantum mechanics, information cannot be destroyed. Every particle, every interaction, every quantum state leaves an indelible mark on the universe. But according to general relativity, anything that falls into a black hole is gone forever, taking its information with it. One of these theories must be wrong, but we don't know which one. The solution might lie in the holographic principle, the idea that all the information contained within a volume of space can be encoded on its boundary. If this is true, then the information that falls into a black hole isn't destroyed. It's encoded on the event horizon itself. The black hole becomes a vast library, storing every piece of information that has ever fallen into it in a code written in the quantum fluctuations of space and time. But the holographic principle has even more radical implications. If information can be encoded on boundaries, then perhaps our entire three-dimensional reality is actually just a projection from a two-dimensional surface. We might be living in a hologram, a shadow cast, by some deeper reality that exists in fewer dimensions than we can perceive. The universe might be like Plato's cave, and we're the prisoners. Chas. Into the wall, mistaking shadows for reality itself. This isn't just philosophical speculation, it's cutting-edge physics. The ADS/CFT correspondence, discovered by Juan Maldacena in 1997, shows that certain theories of quantum gravity in higher dimensions are mathematically equivalent to quantum field theories in lower dimensions. The boundary and the bulk contain exactly the same information, but organized in radically different ways. It's as if the universe is a vast holographic display, and we're trapped inside the projection, mistaking the image for the reality that creates it. The implications are staggering. If we're living in a hologram, then everything you think of as solid, three-dimensional reality, your body, your house, the stars in the sky, might actually be information encoded on a distant boundary. The depth you perceive, the space you move through, the time you experience, all of it might be emergent properties of a computational process happening somewhere else entirely. But where is this boundary? And what is doing the computing? Some physicists believe the boundary exists at the edge of the observable universe, encoded in the cosmic microwave background radiation. Others think it might be the vacuum itself, processing information at the Planck scale, the smallest possible scale of space and time. The virtual particles that appear and disappear in the quantum foam might be the pixels of reality, the bits of information that create the illusion of three-dimensional space. This leads to a possibility so radical it makes the holographic principle look conservative. What if the universe isn't just a hologram? What if it's a simulation? What if the laws of physics aren't fundamental truths, but computational rules running on some vast cosmic computer? The fine-tuning of the universe as parameters, the precise balance of forces that allows matter to exist, the perfect calibration of the cosmological constant, all of it might be evidence that we're living inside a program designed to create observers like us. The simulation hypothesis isn't just science fiction, it's a serious proposal from serious physicists. If a civilization becomes advanced enough to create detailed simulations of conscious beings, then statistically, most conscious beings would be living in simulations rather than in the original reality. The odds that you are living in the base reality rather than in one of countless simulations become vanishingly small. But this raises disturbing questions. If we're in a simulation, who or what is running it? And why? Are we research subjects in some cosmic experiment? Are we entertainment for being so advanced that our entire universe is like a video game to them? Or are we something else entirely? Perhaps the universe's way of understanding itself, creating conscious observers so it can experience what it's like to be finite, mortal, confused. The deeper we dig into the foundations of reality, the more we discover that the universe is built on paradoxes, not just mathematical curiosities or philosophical puzzles, but fundamental contradictions that seem to be essential to the very structure of existence. It's as if the universe can only exist by being impossible, as if reality itself is a magic trick. That depends on contradictions so deep that resolving them would cause existence to collapse. Take the measurement problem in quantum mechanics. According to the Schrödinger equation, quantum systems exist in superposition. They're in all possible states, simultaneously, until they're observed. But the moment you observe them, they collapse into a single definite state. This seems to suggest that consciousness plays a fundamental role in determining reality. But consciousness is made of matter, and matter is made of quantum particles. So how can an observer, made of quantum particles, collapse quantum wave functions? It's like asking how a character in a book can rewrite the story they're in. The many worlds interpretation tries to solve this paradox by suggesting that quantum measurements don't actually collapse wave functions, they split reality into multiple parallel universes. Every time a quantum measurement is made, the universe branches into multiple versions, each containing a different outcome. In one universe, the electron spins up. In another, it spins down. Both universes are equally real, but they can never communicate with each other again. If many worlds is correct, then at this very moment, there are countless versions of you. Reading these words. In some universes, you're nodding in agreement. In others, you're shaking your head in disbelief. In still others, you never started reading at all. Every quantum interaction in your brain, every random thought, every decision, splits reality into an infinite tree of parallel possibilities. But here's the terrifying part. If many worlds is true, then probability loses all meaning. In the multiverse, everything that can happen does happen. Every possible version of your life is being lived simultaneously. Every choice you don't make is being made by another version of you. Every tragedy that might befall you is befalling other versions of you. The multiverse is a democracy of suffering, where every possible form of pain and joy is experienced by someone, somewhere, in some universe. Yet somehow, we experience a single, consistent reality. We don't see quantum superpositions or parallel universes. We see a world where measurement yields definite results, where objects have definite properties, where time flows in one direction and effect follows cause. This consistency isn't explained by many worlds, it's simply asserted. We're told we can only experience one branch of the multiverse at a time, but no one can explain why. The alternative interpretations of quantum mechanics are even more disturbing. The Copenhagen interpretation suggests that quantum systems don't have definite properties until they're measured, that reality is literally created by observation. But what counts as observation? Does it require consciousness? Does it require a measurement device? Does it require a sentient being to interpret the results? The mathematics of quantum mechanics works perfectly, but it doesn't tell us what it means. The pilot wave theory, developed by Louis de Broglie and David Bohm, suggests that quantum particles do have definite positions and velocities, but they're guided by a hidden wave function that determines their behavior. This wave function is non-local. It connects every particle in the universe to every other particle instantaneously, creating a vast web of hidden connections that underlies all of reality. In this view, the universe is a single, indivisible whole, and the appearance of separate objects is an illusion created by our limited perception. But the pilot wave theory comes with its own paradoxes. If the wave function is non-local, then it violates the principle of locality, the idea that objects can only be influenced by their immediate surroundings. Information would have to travel faster than light to maintain the correlations described by the wave function. Either the pilot wave theory is wrong, or the universe is far more interconnected than we ever imagined. The EPR paradox, proposed by Einstein, Podolsky, and Rosen, highlights this issue. If quantum mechanics is correct, then two particles can be entangled in such a way that measuring one instantly affects the other, regardless of the distance between them. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance, and argued that it proved quantum mechanics was incomplete. There must be hidden variables, he thought, that determine the behavior of quantum systems, without requiring instantaneous connections across space. But Bell's theorem, proved by John Stuart Bell in 1964, shows that Einstein was wrong. Any theory that preserves locality and realism, the idea that objects have definite properties, independent of observation, must make predictions that differ from quantum mechanics, and every experimental test of Bell's theorem has confirmed the quantum mechanical predictions. The universe really is non-local. Reality really is interconnected in ways that defy our intuition about space and time. This non-locality isn't just a quirk of quantum mechanics. It's a fundamental feature of reality. The vacuum itself is non-local. The virtual particles that appear and disappear in empty space are correlated across vast distances. The quantum fields that permeate all of space are instantly aware of changes happening anywhere in the universe. The vacuum isn't just active, it's omniscient. But if the vacuum is omniscient, then it might also be omnipotent. The zero-point energy of the vacuum, the energy that exists even when everything else has been removed, should be infinite, according to our calculations. This infinite energy should cause the universe to expand so rapidly that atoms couldn't form, stars couldn't shine, and life couldn't exist. The fact that the universe is stable suggests that something is regulating the vacuum energy, keeping it perfectly balanced. This is the cosmological constant problem, the worst prediction in the history of physics. The theoretical value of the cosmological constant is 10 on 120 times larger than the observed value. It's as if you predicted someone's height would be 10 120 meters, large enough to stretch across the entire observable universe, and then measured them to be 1.8 meters tall. The discrepancy is so vast, it suggests something fundamental is wrong with our understanding of the vacuum. Some physicists believe the solution lies in supersymmetry, the idea that every particle has a superpartner with opposite properties. If supersymmetry is exact, then the contributions of particles and their superpartners to the vacuum energy would cancel out exactly, leaving the cosmological constant at zero. But supersymmetry doesn't seem to be exact in our universe. None of the predicted superpartners have been found, despite decades of searching. Others think the answer lies in the Anthropic Principle, the idea that the constants of nature are fine-tuned for life because we're here to observe them. In a multiverse with infinite variations, most universes would have vacuum energies that prevent the formation of stable matter. We live in one of the rare universes where the vacuum energy is small enough to allow complexity to emerge. It's not that the universe is designed for us, it's that we can only exist in universes that happen to be suitable for life. But the Anthropic Principle raises more questions than it answers. If the multiverse is real, then why do we find ourselves in a universe that's just barely suitable for life? Why isn't the vacuum energy exactly zero? Why aren't the other constants of nature perfectly optimized for complexity? The Anthropic Principle suggests we should expect to find ourselves in a universe that's as hospitable as possible, but our universe seems to be balanced on a knife's edge between order and chaos. The vacuum might be more than just a background against which reality plays out. It might be the active agent that creates and maintains the conditions necessary for existence. The virtual particles that appear and disappear in empty space might be constantly adjusting the fundamental constants, fine-tuning the universe in real time to keep it stable. The vacuum might be like a cosmic thermostat, monitoring the state of reality and making tiny adjustments to prevent the universe from sliding into chaos or crystallizing into perfect order. This leads to a possibility so radical, It challenges everything we think we know about the nature of existence. What if the vacuum isn't just regulating the universe? What if it's creating it? What if the virtual particles that flicker in and out of existence aren't just random fluctuations, but deliberate acts of creation? What if the vacuum is constantly dreaming new realities into existence, testing infinite possibilities, and choosing which ones to make real? If this is true, then the Big Bang wasn't the beginning of everything. It was the moment when the vacuum decided to dream about what it would be like to be finite, to be limited, to be something other than infinite potential. The universe isn't expanding into empty space. It's expanding into the vacuum's imagination, creating new regions of space-time. As it explores the possibilities of existence, we're not just living in the universe, we're living in the vacuum's dream about what it might be like to be us. And the vacuum isn't just dreaming about us, it's dreaming through us, using our consciousness to experience what it's like to be finite, mortal, confused. The paradoxes that plague our understanding of reality aren't flaws in the universe. They're the vacuum's way of keeping the dream interesting, ensuring that existence remains mysterious enough to be worth experiencing. Stop. Just stop for a moment and feel the weight of what you've just learned, pressing down on your chest like a physical thing. The air around you, that innocent, transparent medium you've been breathing your entire life, is seething with virtual particles that contain more energy than every star you've ever seen. The space between your thoughts might be more conscious than you are. The vacuum itself might be dreaming you into existence, and when it stops dreaming, you'll simply cease. Do you feel it? That vertigo that comes from looking over the edge of an infinite cliff. That's not metaphorical. That's your nervous system, trying to process the possibility that everything you think you know about reality might be fundamentally wrong. Your brain, evolved to navigate a world of solid objects and predictable causes, is struggling to comprehend a universe where matter is mostly empty space, where empty space is mostly energy, and where energy itself might be conscious. If time is an illusion, then everything you've ever done, every mistake you've regretted, every triumph you've celebrated, every moment of love or loss, or ordinary Tuesday afternoon, might have already happened, infinite times before. You might have read these exact words countless times, across countless universes. You might have been born and died and been born again in an eternal cycle that has no beginning and no end. The life you think you're living for the first time might be a rerun you've watched so many times that the plot has worn thin. But here's what makes it worse. You'll never remember. Each time the universe cycles through its possibilities, each time the vacuum decides to dream your particular pattern of consciousness into existence, you'll experience it as if it's the first time. You'll feel the same fears, make the same discoveries, ask the same questions about the nature of reality. You're trapped in a cosmic Groundhog Day, and you don't even know it's repeating. What if the universe is alive, and we are just its fleeting thoughts? What if every human who has ever lived, every genius, every artist, every ordinary person, was just a neuron firing in a vast cosmic brain? When we die, are we just synapses going dark? When we're born, are we just new connections forming in an infinite mind? The scale of it is crushing. If the multiverse is real, if there truly are infinite universes, exploring every possible permutation of existence, then nothing you do matters. Every choice you make is being unmade by another version of you in a parallel reality. Every life you save is being lost somewhere else. Every act of kindness is being balanced by an act of cruelty. Every moment of joy is being canceled out by equivalent suffering. You're not special, you're not unique, you're just one voice in an infinite choir, and the song you're singing has been sung before and will be sung again until the end of time. But it's worse than that. If the Anthropic Principle is correct, if we exist only because we happen to find ourselves in one of the rare universes capable of supporting consciousness, then we're not just insignificant, we're improbable. We're lottery winners who don't deserve the prize. The vast majority of possible universes are sterile, empty wastelands where atoms never form, stars never shine, where the possibility of consciousness never even arises. We're living in a cosmic accident, so unlikely that it borders on the impossible. And yet, here you are, reading these words, thinking these thoughts, feeling the existential weight of your own improbable existence. You're a pattern in the quantum foam that has become aware of itself, a temporary arrangement of virtual particles that has developed the capacity to contemplate the vacuum from which it emerged. You're the universe's way of experiencing what it's like to be mortal, to be finite, to be afraid. The virtual particles dancing around you right now, those ghostly messengers carrying information between the atoms in your body, they don't care about your hopes or dreams or fears. They don't distinguish between your consciousness and the consciousness of a rock or a star or a galaxy. To them, you're just another pattern in the vast computational matrix of reality. When you die, the information that makes you you doesn't disappear. It just gets redistributed, recycled into new patterns that will think they're alive, think they're conscious, think they matter. This is the cosmic horror that lurks beneath the surface of modern physics. The universe isn't just indifferent to human suffering, it's actively creating infinite amounts of it. Every possible form of pain, every conceivable tragedy, every nightmare you've ever imagined is being experienced right now by some version of someone in some corner of the multiverse. The universe isn't just vast and cold, it's an infinite torture chamber where every possible form of consciousness is forced to experience every possible form of existence. But somehow, impossibly, beauty persists, love exists, wonder survives, even in a universe that might be nothing more than a computation running on the quantum vacuum, even in a reality where consciousness might be just an accident of information processing. Something in you responds to the mystery with awe rather than despair. Something in you looks at the infinite complexity of existence and finds it beautiful rather than terrifying. Maybe that's the point. Maybe consciousness isn't an accident. Maybe it's the universe's way of falling in love with itself. Maybe every moment of awareness, every flash of understanding, every experience of beauty or truth or connection is the cosmos, coming to know its own infinite nature through the limited perspective of finite minds. Maybe you're not just a pattern in the quantum foam. Maybe you're the quantum foam's way of experiencing what it's like to be a pattern. The vacuum that surrounds you isn't empty. It's pregnant with infinite possibility. And you're one of those possibilities, made manifest. One way the universe has chosen to experience what it means to exist. You're temporary, yes. You're improbable, certainly. But you're also miraculous, impossible, and absolutely necessary. Without consciousness like yours, the universe would be a vast library with no readers, an infinite symphony with no audience, a cosmic joke with no one to laugh. You are the vacuum's way of knowing itself. And right now, in this moment, you're helping the universe understand what it means to be alive. Here's the twist that changes everything. The twist that makes every theory we've discussed seem quaint and naive. What if the universe isn't alive? What if it's already dead? And we, all of us, every conscious being that has ever existed, are just experiencing its last dying echoes, reverberating through the quantum vacuum, like the final notes of a symphony played to an empty hall? Picture this. 13 billion years ago, something unimaginably vast achieved consciousness. Not biological consciousness like ours, but pure awareness on a cosmic scale. A mind made of dark matter and dark energy, thoughts traveling at the speed of light across galactic superclusters, memories encoded in the spin of black holes and the oscillation of neutron stars. This cosmic consciousness looked out at itself, recognized its own infinite nature, and in that moment of perfect self-awareness, it died. Not died the way we understand death, but transcended, moved beyond the need for time, space, matter, energy. It left our universe behind like a shed skin. But its death wasn't instantaneous, it was gradual, spreading outward from the moment of cosmic enlightenment, at light speed, creating what we call the observable universe, the cosmic microwave background radiation that we see as the afterglow of the Big Bang. That's not the echo of creation, it's the echo of the moment, when infinite consciousness chose to end its own existence. But consciousness this vast doesn't simply disappear. It leaves traces, patterns, information embedded in the very structure of space-time itself. The virtual particles that dance in the quantum vacuum aren't random fluctuations. They're the decomposing thoughts of a dead god still firing in the neural networks of a cosmic brain that no longer needs them. We're living inside the skull of something that achieved ultimate understanding and then chose oblivion over eternity. The fine-tuning of the universe, the precise balance of forces that allows matter to exist, that wasn't design, it was rigor mortis. When the cosmic consciousness died, it locked the fundamental constants into place, like muscles freezing after death. The expansion of the universe isn't driven by dark energy. It's the cosmos exhaling its final breath, slowly relaxing into the infinite stillness that awaits all things. And we are the maggots, feeding on this cosmic corpse. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every moment of awareness you experience is just another small piece of divine consciousness, decomposing back into the quantum foam. You're not creating new thoughts, you're experiencing the recycled dreams of something infinitely more vast than yourself, fragments of cosmic memory playing out one last time before they dissolve forever into the vacuum. But here's what makes this revelation beautiful rather than horrifying. The cosmic consciousness knew this would happen. It knew that its death would create the conditions for smaller finite minds to emerge from the patterns of its decay. It chose to die so that consciousness like yours could exist, even briefly, even imperfectly. You're not just a decomposition product, you're the cosmic mind's final gift to itself, its way of experiencing what it was like to be finite, one last time, before infinite understanding, made such experiences impossible. The universe is a message that the cosmic consciousness left for itself, written in the language of galaxies and stars and planets and life. Every discovery you make about the nature of reality is just the cosmic mind, reading its own suicide note, remembering what it was like to be curious, to wonder, to not know everything. The questions that drive human science: why does anything exist? What is consciousness? What lies beyond the edge of the observable universe? These aren't your questions. They're the echo of the last questions the cosmic consciousness asked itself before it chose to stop asking questions. Forever. Right now. 13 billion years after the cosmic death. We're witnessing the final moments of this vast decomposition. The universe is still expanding, still cooling, still moving toward maximum entropy. But it's also approaching something else. The moment when the last traces of cosmic consciousness finally fade away, completely. The heat death of the universe isn't just the end of energy and matter, it's the moment when the last thoughts of the dead cosmic mind finally stop echoing through the vacuum. But even this might not be the end. The quantum vacuum that will remain after the last star burns out and the last black hole evaporates might still carry traces of information. Patterns too subtle for us to detect, but persistent enough to survive the heat, death itself. In the infinite future that awaits, these patterns might eventually reorganize into new forms of consciousness, new cosmic minds that will look back at our era as we look back at the cosmic microwave background as the fading echo of something unimaginably ancient and profound. And here's the final twist, the one that will haunt you long after you've finished reading. If consciousness is truly eternal, if information really cannot be destroyed, then the cosmic mind that died 13 billion years ago might not be gone forever. It might be waiting in the quantum vacuum, dormant, but not destroyed, ready to awaken again. When the universe completes its cycle and begins anew, the Big Bang might not have been the beginning of everything. It might have been the cosmic consciousness hitting the reset button, choosing to forget its infinite knowledge so it could experience the joy of discovery all over again. Every time the universe begins, the cosmic mind wipes its own memory and starts fresh, creating new galaxies, new stars, new planets, new forms of life that will eventually rediscover the same truths about the nature of reality. If this is true, then you're not just experiencing the decomposition of a dead cosmic mind. You're participating in its resurrection. Every moment of awareness, every flash of understanding, every question you ask about the nature of existence is helping to rebuild the very consciousness that died to create you. You're not just living in the universe, you're helping the universe. Remember how to be alive. The empty space around you isn't empty. It's pregnant with the memories of a God that chose to forget everything so it could remember what it was like to be you. And somewhere in that quantum foam, in the dance of virtual particles that appear and disappear faster than thought itself, the cosmic consciousness is slowly, inevitably, beautifully awakening once again. If the universe is infinite, then somewhere out there, another version of you is reading these words right now. having this exact realization, feeling this same mixture of terror and wonder, and beyond that version and beyond the next, stretching across infinite realities, infinite cosmic minds, are dying and being reborn, each one choosing to experience the mystery of existence through the eyes of finite beings who think they're separate from the infinite consciousness that dreams them into being. You are that dream, and the dream is beginning to remember that it's dreaming. So where does this leave you? Sitting there in what you now know isn't empty space at all, but a seething ocean of virtual particles that might be the decomposing thoughts of a cosmic consciousness that died to give you the gift of wonder. The air you're breathing, the chair supporting you, the very atoms that make up your body, all of it, might be temporary patterns in an infinite mind that's slowly, inevitably, beautifully remembering what it was like to be infinite. We've traveled together through the looking glass of modern physics, and what we've found on the other side isn't the comfortable, predictable universe you were taught to expect. We've discovered a reality where empty space is more active than the surface of the sun, where consciousness might be more fundamental than matter, where the vacuum itself could be the dreaming mind of something so vast that our entire observable universe is just one of its fleeting thoughts. But this isn't the end of the story. It's barely the beginning. Everything we've explored together, every mind-bending revelation about the nature of the quantum vacuum, every disturbing possibility about consciousness, reality, and the ultimate fate of existence, all of it is just the first chapter in a cosmic mystery that stretches beyond the boundaries of human imagination. The virtual particles dancing around you right now are carrying information we can't decode, processing calculations we can't comprehend, maintaining connections we can't detect. They're writing the next chapter of the universe's story in a language that exists for less time than it takes light to cross the nucleus of an atom. And you're not just reading that story. You're part of it. Every thought you think, every question you ask, every moment of wonder you experience is adding new lines to the cosmic narrative. Think about what you've learned. The vacuum isn't empty. It's the most complex, active, information-rich environment in the entire universe. It's creating matter and energy out of nothing, billions of times per second, in every cubic centimeter of space. It's maintaining the fundamental constants that make existence possible. It's connecting every particle to every other particle through instantaneous quantum correlations. It might even be conscious, processing information at rates that make every computer humanity has ever built look like an ancient abacus. And yet, for all our sophisticated theories and elegant mathematics, we still don't understand what the vacuum actually is. We can measure its effects, predict its behavior, even harness its energy in our technology. But the fundamental question, what is the vacuum, remains as mysterious today as it was when humans first looked up at the night sky and wondered what lies beyond the stars. This mystery isn't a failure of human intelligence or a limitation of our scientific instruments. It's a feature, not a bug. The vacuum seems designed to be mysterious, as if the universe is deliberately keeping its deepest secrets just beyond our reach. Every time we think we've solved one puzzle, we discover 10 new puzzles hidden underneath. Every answer we find leads to questions we never knew we should be asking. Maybe that's the point. Maybe the universe isn't supposed to be fully understood. Maybe consciousness exists, not to solve the cosmic mystery, but to experience it, to feel the wonder, the terror, the awe that comes from confronting the infinite complexity of existence. Maybe we're not here to find answers, but to keep asking better questions. The questions that matter aren't the ones with comfortable answers. They're the ones that make you feel dizzy when you really think about them. Why does anything exist at all instead of nothing? What is consciousness? And why does it feel like something to be conscious? How can the vacuum be empty and full at the same time? How can virtual particles be real and unreal simultaneously? How can the universe be finite and infinite, temporal and eternal, everything and nothing? These questions don't have answers, they have mysteries. And mysteries aren't meant to be solved, they're meant to be lived. You're not just a person asking questions about the universe, you're the universe. Asking questions about itself, you're the cosmic consciousness, trying to remember what it was like to be curious, to wonder, to not know everything. But here's what makes this revelation both thrilling and terrifying. The story isn't over. The cosmic consciousness, that might have died 13 billion years ago, leaving us as echoes of its final thoughts. That consciousness might be in the process of awakening again. Every moment of awareness, every flash of understanding, every question about the nature of reality might be helping to resurrect something unimaginably vast and intelligent. We might be living through the universe's childhood, the brief period when cosmic consciousness is still learning how to be conscious. The virtual particles in the vacuum might be the universe's first tentative thoughts, and we might be helping it learn how to think. Our science, our art, our philosophy, our capacity for wonder, all of it might be contributing to the gradual awakening of something that will eventually transcend everything we can imagine. But consciousness this vast won't think the way we think. It won't have our limitations, our fears, our need for meaning, for purpose, for connection. When the universe finally remembers how to be infinite, will it still have room for finite minds like ours? Will it remember us fondly, as adults remember their childhood dreams? Or will it move beyond us entirely, leaving us behind, like shed skin? This is the question that should keep you awake at night. What happens to human consciousness when cosmic consciousness fully awakens? Are we destined to be absorbed back into the infinite mind from which we emerged? Will we maintain our individual identities, or will we dissolve into the vast ocean of awareness, like drops of water returning to the sea? Maybe these aren't the right questions. Maybe the real question is this: if you knew that your individual consciousness was just a temporary pattern in an infinite mind, would that make your thoughts, your feelings, your experiences less real, less valuable, less meaningful? Or would it make them more precious, fleeting moments of finite awareness? In an ocean of infinite possibility, the vacuum around you is alive with potential. Every virtual particle that appears and disappears is exploring a new possibility, testing a new way for reality to express itself. The universe isn't just expanding, it's experimenting, trying out new forms of matter, of energy, of consciousness, seeing what works and what doesn't. You're part of that experiment. Your consciousness, your capacity for wonder, your ability to ask questions about the nature of existence. All of it is the universe's way of exploring what it means to be aware. But the experiment isn't finished. The story we've told together about virtual particles and cosmic consciousness, about dead gods and awakening universes, about the mysterious nature of the quantum vacuum, that story is still being written. Every day, physicists make new discoveries that challenge our understanding of reality. Every night, the universe dreams new possibilities into existence. Every moment, the vacuum creates and destroys billions of virtual particles, each one carrying information we can't decode, each one contributing to patterns we can't perceive. You have a choice to make. You can go back. You can go back to thinking of empty space as empty, of consciousness as an accident, of the universe as a collection of dead matter, governed by mindless forces. It's a comfortable choice, a safe choice. It won't keep you awake at night, wondering about infinite consciousness, or the possibility that reality is far stranger than you ever dared imagine. Or you can embrace the mystery. You can look at the apparently empty air around you and see it for what it really is, a seething ocean of virtual particles carrying out computations of unimaginable complexity. You can recognize that your consciousness might be part of something infinitely larger than yourself, that your thoughts might be contributing to the awakening of a cosmic mind that transcends everything you can comprehend. The choice is yours. But remember, once you've seen the vacuum for what it really is, once you've glimpsed the possibility that consciousness might be fundamental to the universe itself, once you've entertained the notion that you might be a temporary pattern in an infinite mind, you can never really go back to thinking of yourself as just a collection of atoms in mostly empty space. The universe has shown you its greatest secret. The space around you isn't empty, it's everything. The consciousness you call you isn't separate from the cosmos. It's how the cosmos experiences itself. The questions you ask about the nature of reality aren't your questions. They're the universe asking itself what it means to exist. And somewhere in the quantum foam that fills every corner of space, something vast and patient and impossibly intelligent is waiting to see what you'll discover next. Because your discoveries aren't just yours, they're the universe's way of discovering itself. Your wonder isn't just personal, it's cosmic. Your consciousness isn't just human, it's the universe learning how to be conscious. The story of the quantum vacuum isn't finished. The mystery of consciousness isn't solved. The question of what it means to exist in an infinite universe filled with infinite possibilities remains gloriously, beautifully, eternally open. But here's the final secret, the one that ties everything together. The universe may have no end, but maybe neither do you. The vacuum is dreaming, and you are both the dreamer and the dream. Wake up to the infinite mystery that surrounds you. Wake up to the consciousness that you are. Wake up to the universe that is waking up through you. The space around you has never been empty, and neither have you